I'm Sid. I'm with Lucky Lady Quilt Co. And today I'm taking a stab at making a men's quilted coat. I'm going to be following the camp coat sewing pattern from LaRae Handmade. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But I'm going to be adding quilting elements to this coat, so the entire thing won't be quilt blocks. I'm just going to add the quilt blocks or the quilt pattern on the pockets, and then there's a strip on the back that I'll be adding it to. So I'm excited to see how it turns out. I'm going to be using this duck canvas fabric, so I'm just sticking with the two colors, and then I'll be adding a shearling lining, so it's super cozy. But yeah, this coat will be going to a friend who's in San Francisco, and I want to get it to him before it's just summertime and I've missed my winter opportunities. So hopefully I'm going to finish it this week. And let's see, first things first, I need to cut out the sewing pattern, and then I will need to create my quilt blocks, sew those together, and then I'll be able to put it all together. So let's get started. So I already made a mistake. I was rushing, actually I wouldn't even say rushing, I was just watching TV while cutting out the pattern, and I didn't realize that I had flipped the front and back pieces around when I was cutting the lining. So now my shearling lining that I had cut, this should be in two pieces and is technically the front piece. And then my back piece is cut in half, which is such a bummer because I really wanted there to be absolutely no seams in the back or like any part of the lining. But I did stray from the directions. I was supposed to cut out the, let's see, here it is. So there's like this, the back yoke. I was supposed to cut this out independent, like as its own lining, but I didn't want the seams, so I just attached this to the other back piece and just cut the lining that way. But while doing that, I mixed them up. So now I think I'm gonna go back and follow the directions and cut the yoke out separately because I do have enough fabric for that. And then I'll sew that to what I currently have cut out as the front piece, and then turn these back pieces into the front pieces, if that makes sense. So yeah, I was a bit bummed out when I realized that's what I had done, but it's fine. Now I've learned my lesson that I really do need to pay attention to the directions. But yeah, I think it'll be fine. So I'll let you know what I end up doing. So I finally finished cutting out the paper sewing pattern, and then I also cut the solid fabric pieces that I need. So now I can finally work on making the quilt design for the pockets and the back yoke. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to use both duck canvas fabric colors, and I'm going to cut each of them into 3-inch wide strips, and then I'll use those strips to create a checkerboard. I do want to mix it up a bit and do rotating, like different size checkered rows. So one row will be 2x2-inch checkers. The following row will be 1x2-inch checkers, and then repeating that. So it's like big, skinny, if that makes sense. So that's the plan. The only issue that I could foresee happening is that there's just like too much bulk from the seams, especially for the 1x2-inch squares or rectangles, because it's just so much easier when the squares are bigger because then there's less seam bulk. So I don't know if I want to go up an inch for my checker sizes just to make life easier. But yeah, we'll see. I finally finished the quilt design that I'm going to do on the pockets in the back. So this is what the back yoke looks like. I really like how it turned out. I initially was going to do the bigger checkers followed by the smaller, like the skinny one and then the bigger one, but it looked kind of funky, and so I doubled up on the smaller checkers, and I think it adds kind of like a warped sense that I liked better than the alternating one. So I'm happy with how it turned out. I did end up going up a size from the fabric strips that I cut in the duck canvas. So I was initially going to go for the 3 inches, but then I think I ended up doing the 3.5, and I'm so happy I did because there are so many seams that I had to cover. But actually I can show you. So this is what the back seams look like. I think if I went smaller, they honestly would have been touching and it probably would have been a bit of a mess. So even this is a bit cluttered, but I think it'll work out and it's not going to be too bulky, especially since I pressed it. But yeah, so my next, I don't want to say roadblock, but the next thing I'm dealing with is I don't know what fabric to use for the sleeve lining. So I did fix what I had done where I had accidentally flipped the back and front pieces and then I cut them opposite. So I ended up fixing that. So then I cut the back yoke separately and then yada yada. So it's in a good place, but now I need to figure out what fabric to do for the sleeves, and I think I'm gonna go for, I have satin fabric that I have sitting around. I also have nylon. I really want to do, I want to use a fabric that's like kind of, you could slide your arm through, because the worst thing is when you're wearing a coat and your sweatshirt gets stuck on the fabric on the inside and then your sleeves get ruffled in the coat arm. Anyway, I really want to avoid that. So I think I'm going to pick a fabric that is pretty slippery and but also durable, which leads me to not want to use satin. But I'm also going to be attaching it to the shearling, which is a completely different fabric. So I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it. So I will let you know what I end up using. So it's a new day and I was able to get a ton done. I guess to start off, now that Joann's is closing, I went last night and ended up buying a ton of fabric that I don't have room for. But one of the purchases was this, it was like a jersey knit fabric that I added as the sleeve liner, and it kind of goes with the like neutral color theme. So the liner, or like it'll be the shearling on the front and back like bodice part, and then the sleeves will be the jersey knit, but I think it looks pretty nice. I ended up serging it, or I serged all of the seams, so there's no fraying and hopefully it'll be more durable and it will last longer. But I'm very happy with how this little piece turned out. And then I also quilted, finished the back yoke in the front 2 pockets. I added this design for the pockets in the back yoke, so I think it'll be a fun little touch. But yeah, let's see. I still need to add the same jersey knit from the sleeves to the back of the pocket, so it is a little bit more cohesive. But after that, I also went through and I used the serger and I went around every single piece. So the batting doesn't also move around and it's just a bit more polished looking. However, I only had 3 brown thread options for my serger and 1 white. So this side ended up white, this side's brown, but no one's gonna see it, so it's fine. And I think that's it to show you from everything that I did last night. So yeah, now I'm gonna put on the pockets. and then attach the back yoke to the back bodice and put the outer layer together, and then I'll finally be able to add the liner, and then I can I guess put on the finishing touches. So yeah, I think next time you'll see me it'll be done, which I'm so excited. So I'll see you soon. New day, and it's hopefully my last day of working on this coat. I jumped the gun, already added the buttons, and pretty much have finished everything. So this is what it looks like thus far. I added the liner. I'm happy with how the arms turned out. This is the back. And I do have to say the hardest part of the entire thing was putting the collar on. I definitely did it to myself because I replaced the interfacing with batting, but which made it super thick when I was sewing. And so I had already sewn across here to I guess stabilize the collar, but I didn't like how it turned out because it was so, I don't know, wonky, that I just repicked it and did it all over again. So now I'm happy with how it looks. In hindsight, I wish that I had added binding right here on the pockets. I'm not the biggest fan of folding the fabric in on itself and then sewing. I think it looks a bit messy. That could also just be how I sewed it, but because of that, I decided to deviate from the directions, and so now the only thing I have left is to finish the what are these called, cuffs. So what I did instead of folding the fabric in on itself and sewing around is I ended up cutting about 2 inches off from the sewing pattern because the arms are really long, and now I'm gonna add binding around the opening for both sleeves, and I think it'll just look a bit nicer. I also just love adding binding, so I'm gonna do that. So I need to make the bias tape, and then I'll attach it, and then the coat is finished, and I'll try it on for you guys. So see you soon. It's finally finished. So this is what it looks like. And I'm getting Kevin to be my model.
Hello.
I hope you enjoyed tagging along with me while I made this duck canvas coat. I am really happy with how it turned out. Next week I'm going to be making another quilted item, but I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. So stay tuned. But thank you again. I really appreciate it, and see you in the next video.